734 had a lot of power creep. Lots of heroes received major buffs, and one of those heroes is Lone Druid. So in this video, we're going to take a look at why Lone Druid is so much better now, and also why the win rate doesn't necessarily reflect that fact. So if you look here, when the patch came out, the win rate actually went down, and then since then it has gone up a little bit. And why exactly that is, we'll discuss at the end of the video. So first of all, the big headline change is that the bear is now a universal creep hero unit, which means we get extra damage from stats, and also we get all the regular bonuses like extra HP and armor and mana. And it says here that the health and damage increases by 90 and 5 per level of Lone Druid, but that's just the same old that we already had. Bear now gets a new Aghanim Scepter and a new shard. So first of all, the Bear Aghanims, it's just the old Lone Druid Aghanims, no change there. The Aghanim Shard gets a completely new ability that's Fetch, where you root an enemy for 2.25 seconds, but it also disables the bear, so it doesn't actually as good as it looks, and also because it's a root, it can be broken by stuff like Manta. Then we get a Spirit Link upgrade. Then we get a Spirit Link upgrade, which is the new Aghanim Scepter. And here it does something similar to... Then we have a new Aghanims upgrade for Spirit Link. This is Aghanims for the hero, where we sever the link to Spirit Bear and instead connect to an allied hero. So you put this on your carry or some other important hero on your team, and then you share the Spirit Link. So the allied hero and Lone Druid both get the extra armor, they get the extra attack speed, and they heal each other when they attack. So it's kind of similar to the Lycan ultimate. So it's kind of similar to the Lycan axe, the Wolf Bite. This one is not nearly as strong. You don't get hasted movement speed or anything like that, but it does have much more uptime. It's 20 seconds duration and a 40-second cooldown. I don't think this is going to come into play all that much, to be honest. I think it's more like a late game thing when you have more money than you know what to do with. Or it could be something where you're in the late game and your bear just doesn't cut it anymore. Your bear just dies instantly, and so you just put your items onto the hero and you buy an Aghanims, and then you just play as a regular right-click hero, and you also buff up your carry, let's say, if you're mid laner. And the regular Lone Druid build is hard to really do because you lose control of your bear unless you also have the other Aghanims. And you're buying 2 Aghanims, 8k gold for this is a lot on a very item-dependent hero. And then we have another buff. True Form no longer increases BAT. So what we have here is huge buff. The extra Aghanims and Shard is extra options. It's certainly not bad, but I don't think it's a massive buff. And then this is another like very minor buff. Then on top of that, the items that Lone Druid likes to buy have also been buffed a little bit. So first of all, we have Desolator for standard Lone Druid item. Now has a maximum of 30 bonus damage. Then we also have bonus damage against illusions on Maelstrom, Mjolnir, and on Radiance, which are all relevant Lone Druid items, and Lone Druid can have problems dealing with illusion heroes, so this is very nice. We do get a nerf to Nullify, which is a popular Lone Druid item. And then we have Skull Basher, which is also a popular Lone Druid item. Now there's an extra 5 damage, which is already nice. But then we also get the damage from the 10 strength it provides, which is another 7 damage. That's actually plus 12 damage. And we also get plus 220 HP on the bear from Skull Basher. So it's actually a huge buff for this item that was already good on Lone Druid. So let's jump into demo mode and figure out what this universal thing actually does. Of course, it means that you can just buy a bunch of branches, and suddenly we just get a lot more damage. But of course, you don't stop at branches. We can also, for example, upgrade some of the branches into a wand. Wand is actually a pretty decent item on Lone Druid bear now. Having the extra mana can actually sometimes be relevant. And it is plus 3 to all attributes, which means it gives us 6.3 damage on a 450 gold item that can also clean up our inventory. using up some of these branches. Another great item, of course, we can buy now is Wraith Band. What you can do now is you just buy the Wraith Bands early for the bear, and then when you're out of slots, you transfer them to the hero. And Wraith Bands are actually a really legit item on the bear. Because what does the bear need? It needs damage, attack speed, and armor. Those are the like 3 main things that the bear wants. And this is all things that Wraith Bands give you. It gives you 6.3 damage, same as the wand. It also gives you 10 attack speed, which is pretty big. And it gives you almost 3 armor, and also gives a little bit of armor to the Lone Druid himself through the Spirit Link connection. So this is an amazing item. Another thing this universal stuff opens up to us is that we can now consider alternatives to phase boots. Phase boots, of course, still really, really strong on the bear, but we can also actually think about treads, because now we benefit from the attributes. So the attack speed and the attribute is very strong on the bear. However, I think in most situations, phase boots is still superior because mobility is so important on the bear. As we already talked about, Desolator now slightly stronger, Basher much stronger, but there's also a lot of new items that open up for us on Lone Druid. For example, we can actually think about going for Echo Saber. Now the int is not that relevant, and the extra HP we get from Echo Saber also not that relevant in the bear because it has so much HP already. But it's actually an option we can think about. I'm not saying that you definitely want to go Echo Saber, but it's an option, and of course has a strong upgrade path with Harpoon, which is quite nice in games where you're afraid of getting kited. Another item we're thinking about nowadays is Diffusal Blade. Although Diffu itself got a minor nerf, Disperser actually got a buff in the patch, and Diffu is like a really efficient damage item. So if you're like facing Medusa, for example, you know, just buy a Diffu. I'm not saying this is a standard item on the bear, because it's not very good at buildings, which is kind of what Lone Druid likes to focus on, but it is an option. And that's like the chief thing about Lone Druid in this patch. You just have so many more options, which is amazing, because for the longest time, Lone Druid's item builds used to be very constrained, because it was just a pretty limited set of items that the bear would really fully benefit from. And then we have Bloodthorn and its components, Mage Slayer and Orchid. So if you're against a lot of very elusive heroes, Orchid might be an option. This is especially now a little bit better because you now actually get some bonus damage from the int it gives. Same thing for Mage Slayer. If you're facing a lot of magic damage, Mage Slayer might be an option. Let's say you're facing a Leshrac. Of course, these are not ideal bear items because they just give you so much mana regen, which you don't really need. Like a little bit of extra mana regen is nice in the late game on the bear, but it's not something you need to obsess about. Another possible item is actually also Armlet. Armlet does bin a lot of HP, but it is like the most efficient right click item you can buy. It's only 2500 gold, and it gives a ton of damage and attack speed and armor, all stats that the bear likes. But you can't really sustain Armlet for like farming and things like that, even if you have a Mask of Madness. You just don't really get enough lifesteal. But if you want to play really aggressive and hit some really sharp timings, Armlet might be the item for you. You probably don't really want to go for something like a Saint Yasha, because, well, it does give you now some damage from the strength and agi and some extra attack speed and so on. But, you know, the tankiness from Saint Yasha is not that relevant to the bear, and movement speed and so on, that's not that important because it kind of slowed down by your hero anyway. But at least it's a possibility. Something like Eye of Skadi, again, it provides a ton of mana that you don't really need, and the tankiness is not that important, so it's not an item you would really want to buy on the bear. But something like Butterfly, perfectly viable late game item on the bear. You know, it gives a bunch of agi, which is damage for us, not quite as much as an agi hero, but still. Then we get evasion, which is great on the bear, attack speed and damage. It's a really good bear item. Another option you have that's brand new on the bear is actually going for Manta. It used to be the case that the bear could not create illusions, but now you can. And You can also, of course, make illusion the illusion rune now, which is another nice little buff for the bear. Now, how good is Manta actually on the bear? It provides decent amount of stats, though it's also decent damage. Movement speed is okay on the bear as well. And illusions from the bear should also be pretty strong because bear is tanky, so illusions also tanky. So this is actually a very legit item. The problem though is that at least the traditional kind of items that the bear would like to buy, things like Desolator, Skullbasher, Mjolnir, AC and so on, don't really harmonize well with Manta style. So if you do want to go for Manta, you would have to go for kind of a different build. You'd have to buy stuff like Diffusal Blade and Butterfly and things like that that harmonize more with Manta style, but it's certainly an intriguing option and it would give you like extra dispel options and extra like split pushing options and so on. So that's actually really cool. Also note that we can disassemble Mask of Madness and use the quarterstaff to build our butterfly, and possibly even use Morbid Mask to build Satanic. It's not as good on the bear as on most likely heroes because the bear already has so much HP, and so lifesteal on him is less relevant than on most ordinary carry heroes, but it can still be a strong late game option. And of course, another big option here is Swift Blink. Blink was already kind of a viable late game item on the bear because having an extra mobility in fights is huge, especially in late game. But you didn't really want to buy Blink Dagger in the late game because it had no upgrade path that was viable on Lone Druid. But now that we benefit from stats, Swift Blink is actually a very strong late game option for the bear. And it probably would be the kind of item you use to replace your boots with, similar as you do on lots of other carry heroes. So one of the reasons win rate has not really gone up is that you have all this flexibility now and people are still experimenting. No one really knows quite yet what is the perfect build on Lone Druid. You can't just go for the good old build. You can just get like your Mask of Madness, Phase Boots, Deso, Skullbasher, AC and so on, and just like add in a little bit of stat items and you're going to be stronger than before. But maybe there are other builds that are actually much better than that, and people are still experimenting. But I think the biggest reason is that there were 2 bugs introduced by the new patch, which have now been fixed, which is why the win rate has shot up again. The first was that Bear would actually just auto attack, and you've probably seen this already in this video in a couple of places. And the second was that you could no longer tab between units with Lone Druid. So if you use tab, you can switch between your main hero and your bear. This is not really a feature I used. I just used control groups and such. But a lot of people were using that and were being irritated that this didn't work anymore. And I think these 2 bugs is what reduced the win rate. But now that this has been hot fixed, I think Lone Druid is going to be a very strong hero. There are some strong counters to him that have also been buffed. So something like Drow Ranger, Sniper, Jakiro are kind of hard to deal with. But on the whole, I think Lone Druid is going to do really well in this patch. And so if you ever want to learn some Lone Druid, now is the perfect time. And if you do want to get more content on Lone Druid, which of course I'm going to be producing on this channel, do subscribe and also watch out for my live streams where I'm going to be playing quite a bit of Lone Druid because I think it's actually genuinely broken and I want to get back my MMR, so I'm going to be spamming some Lone Druids. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in one of those videos here on the screen.